Dr. Dre's The Chronic, an entire coast demanded respect.
Bow Down was the #1 motherfucking record in the country. And we didn't have no spins on East Coast radio station.
But as West Coast record sales soared, the East Coast felt something they had never felt before. Jealousy.
Snoop and them had came out with a song called, you know what I mean, New York, New York. And they was kicking over our buildings and the videos and whatnot. And we had like took that like kind of personal, you know what I'm saying? That's kicking over our buildings, you know what I'm saying?
We not finna even get put in that point where we say fuck the East Coast, cause there's money over there, man. So it's like New York is the spot. New York, New York.
They like fuck the dog pound right now.
So we had to go back at them, you know what I'm saying? We made a song called L.A.
L.A., big city of dreams, but everything in L.A. ain't always what it seems. You might get fooled if you...
The only niggas that, at that time, that came out and firmly stood up for N.W.A. that time, you know what I'm saying? Go back, check the records, and you will hear...
Tragedy, Mob D.
Right, video for it and all that.
Cause we coming from Queens, it gets down.
The East Coast, West Coast thing got big because it sold records, you know what I mean? Because it sold magazines, because it helped ratings for TV and radio. I mean, it was, a lot of it was about money as far as I'm concerned.
The media.
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 Fuck the media. Fuck the media.
Fuck them motherfuckers. Fuck the TV.
Fuck the media.
All right. The media seized the so-called East Coast, West Coast war, keeping a curious audience current with blow-by-blow coverage. Many non-related events and grievances were attributed to the beef, and sensational coverage by magazines, radio stations, and television made artists, labels, and fans take sides.
Suspiciously immediately following Shakur's shooting in New York on November 7th.
East Coast versus West Coast battle.
The reported threats on Combs' life.
Night strikes towering
Couldn't help but notice the huge biceps itching to bust through his shirt.
Heard there was a contract out on my life, said Combs.
East Coast, you know. East Coast, West Coast war. East Coast.
Yeah, the Goodfellas thing was definitely purposeful. The whole Mafia reference was definitely purposeful because at this point, Death Row was the most feared entity in the music industry. And we loved the fact that these cats agreed to pose in these black outfits. We thought it was hot, you know what I'm saying? Death Row Records had a publicist named George Price at the time. And in the middle of us laying out the cover, George Price calls and he says, whatever you do, make sure that the letters on the cover are in red. You know what I'm saying?
I've had plenty problems with people that live on my block. They ain't start no whole Brooklyn thing like this, East, like Bed-Stuy against Brownsville. They ain't start no whole big thing like that.
Controversy sells.
The rappers didn't take it to another level. The companies took it to another level.
My whole career was I had never been in an interview where they didn't ask me about East Coast, West Coast. East Coast, West Coast beef.
There ain't no real East Coast, West Coast beef.
Oh, you don't like Hammer, or you don't like Will Smith. You know, let's just get you to say you don't like somebody.
You could be, artists from wherever, from Wyoming, and they're gonna ask you, well, how do you feel about what's going on with such and such and such and such?
What about Eazy-E?
So are you happy at Death Row Records now?
But I ain't get on the camera to talk about that.
The interview nigga asked me a question about the magazine. He was like, yo, I heard boom, boom, you wasn't feeling with Jay-Z. I was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I think you're a bitch ass nigga for saying that, you know what I'm saying?
No, I'm not gonna say
Come on. Now, when you make a statement, it's in the paper, you've taken a stance.
Bottom line, fuck that fat bitch.
When you're new in the game, you got an open mouth and you're not aware of the game they're playing with you, and you may open your mouth and say something about somebody that you didn't have to.
Fuck the source, alright? Source can suck a dick. Fuck them motherfuckers.
Can we say fuck Tim Dog on TV?
Say it.
fuck Tim Dog.
When you read your article, that's the piece that's blown up. That's in the big letters. Like, oh.
And the stories kept coming. Rumors that Tupac had sex with Biggie Small's wife. that Tupac Shakur had been raped in prison, that Puffy had something to do with the death of Jake Robles, Suge Knight's close friend. March 1996. A gun is drawn as Death Row and Bad Boy square off at the Soul Train Awards in Los Angeles. As the tensions rose, the game's two premier MCs became opposing generals in hip-hop's civil war, whether they liked it or not.
And so here we are, with this magazine, and we know in the magazine world, even if something says September, it generally comes out like the month before, around the middle of the month before. And so, East Coast, West Coast, by September 13th, Tupac is dead. 6 months later, Biggie is dead. And so this cover is actually kind of eerie, you know what I'm saying?
When you see a Vibe magazine, when you see Puff and Biggie on the cover and see East vs. West, niggas in the hood don't read articles. They just see East vs. West. Oh, it's on. It's on. When I see them niggas, it's on.
I think Vibe gets a lot of heat for that one, because it was such a, you remember that, what that cover looked like. And I think a lot of the people who probably worked at Vibe at that time still to this day feel kind of like, but Vibe wasn't the only people calling that beef that. Everybody was.
And it was crazy. It was just a crazy time. And I might say now, I regret the media's role and stuff like this, but we really didn't realize how deeply we were into this. If I'm only in my 30s now, I was in my 20s like most of us. You know what I'm saying? We were all kids documenting this thing. We're not even clear who we are, and we're dealing with this dominant youth culture of the day, and it's taking this very violent turn. It's this thing called East Coast, West Coast. We've never seen anything like this before. And we're just literally swept into it. It was insane, There was no way to know where it was going. No way.
Like with the Biggie and Tupac battle. There was a lot of people that was not checking to see if Pac could outrun Biggie. They were checking to see who could win in a physical confrontation, whose camps could win if the two met up with one another.
As the business of rap music became increasingly like the streets, the artists' crews, made up of close friends, family, and up-and-coming artists, became increasingly part of the problem. They were there to stop.
I've dealt with a whole lot of people that involved themselves in the streets and brought the streets into the game. And it's like the problem with that is when you bring the streets into the game, they only know the rules of the streets.
I got family, and I got a big family. One of them dudes, who just had a real big family. I have an extra huge family. But even the cops get that confused. The cops start thinking we're a gang and we're this, and they don't understand I just make music, and these dudes just support me a whole lot. Some of these dudes just support me from the street, and they living this life.
Most rap crews are made up of, I say 50% businessmen and 50% thugs. 50% of your crew is made up of homeboys that just came home from jail. Now my boys that just got out, I've been the guy on their TV that they've been pointing at. That's my man. That's my man. When they get home, their life is based around maybe I could roll with Ice. Maybe Ice could help me, Now, what can he do? What can he actually do? But say, yo, Blows, Joe Blow was dissing you and I knocked him out in the club. What can he do? So then that thug element is always ready to reach out and touch anybody, whether it's a cameraman, whether it's an interviewer, whether it's somebody on the radio. They do not have any other way of showing the rapper that they man than busting somebody in their head. And that's where they get their stripe. So you gotta understand that thug element is always available in rap.
They want them stripes. They want them points. So it's like, even though you might tell a person, look, I really need you to slow down and cease fires and that. Hey, he's a grown man. When you're not around, he might just come along anyway and just, do what he want to do on his own.
Then, instead of fighting me like a G, he ran. Now, I can't help it if some niggas that was on the scene beat his ass for running. That was something separate, you understand me? And I can't help it if they were screaming thug life as they did it. That ain't my fault. That's just how shit went down, you understand me?
I could not be there, but if I have this person running around with me to the point that you would start associating him with me, and he decides to just go kill a nigga while I'm off doing some other shit, they gonna say I sent that.
I've been in situations where I've been with my boys and I'm talking to a friend of mine in hip hop, but his soldiers is sizing up my soldiers. You see what I'm saying? His man just came out looking at my man crazy. I'm walking down the street, my man's like, I don't like his boy. I'm like, you shut, that's my man. But that's they animal. That's how they rationalize things with combat.
So when you first come out of the hood, you come out of the hood and you were a drug dealer and your friends is drug dealers and your friends is thugs and you were just a poet that hung out with thugs and you might have been thug too and you got a record. People around you are very protective. They're very violent. They don't really believe they have nothing to live for. And you are the centerpiece of their lives and, you know, and you're trying to train them as you learn. It's tough.
I mean, Snoop got people that's loyal to him that would probably kill you before he would.
But you gotta know how to separate your friends from your homies from your loved ones. I mean, you got homeboys, you got friends, and you got dogs. My dogs is with me all the time. My friends, hey, what's happening? All right, I get back at you. And my homeboys is people who I got love for, but they don't understand this business right now, so I have to keep it to a limit.
It was times where I had concerts and shows, and I tell a couple people to meet me on my block, on my corner when I first got signed. And before I know it, I look up, it's like a parade outside.
There's always somebody in somebody's ear, like telling you, fuck that, B. This, that, and third.
Yo, let that nigga go right there.
That nigga said this, man.
Why you don't go see him?
Because nowadays, I mean, the pressure from your mans will make you go hurt something.
That's the dude you need to get away from you. Or you gotta school him quick, because he don't know no better.
In 1995, a crew from Eazy-E's Ruthless Records visited the Dog Pound on the set of a music video. The Dog Pound, because of their allegiance to Death Row Records, were drawn into Dr. Dre's ongoing beef with Eazy-E.
Actually, Eazy-E boys, they was just, I mean, me and Ricky Harris was riding around, you know, on a little go-kart thing, getting ready to shoot a scene. And they just walked up on me like, fuck the Dog Pound, you know what I mean? And my response was like, I mean, it's about 100 people around there, one of them went behind me. So I'm like, well, either I swing now, or else I just get swung on, so. It's Eazy-E, rest in peace. I don't know how much he had to do with influencing them to talk about us. But they was down with him and we was down with Dre, so they was trying to do their diss thing. And we not trying to be no hoodlums, we out here trying to make money, because I know that day I felt real bad about what it looked real silly.
Man, I love this game.
Fatal Hussein of the Outlaws was part of Tupac Shakur's crew. Due to a court date on the East Coast, Fatal wasn't in Las Vegas the night Tupac was shot.
Not that I'm some kind of, you know, gladiator or nothing like that, but if I was dead, I know, you know, I'm in the streets basically. The only time I'm not in the streets is when I'm with Tupac. So I know right from wrong. I know, you know, this shit is still the streets. And I know there's certain things you can do and certain things you can't do, man, especially when you at that level. And it's like people that was around him at the time wasn't feeding this to him, man.
After a Mike Tyson bout, Tupac Shakur started a fight with Orlando Anderson, a Los Angeles gang member. Several hours later, Shakur was shot in a car just off the Las Vegas Strip.
I never stopped thinking about what the fuck was Tupac doing out there rolling in the dirt with a nigga that he ain't had no business even. He shouldn't even gave that nigga the time, man, to even say some shit like, yeah, me and Pac had a fight, man. It was like 100 other niggas dead. It was supposed to be people there that was supposed to step up and handle situations. Niggas wasn't around just to be rapping and eating up shit and messing with chicks and shit like that. Everybody in the crew got a part to play. And if you don't play your part, then it's all gonna crumble. And if they get the head, man, what's gonna happen to the body? I felt like if I was dead, shit would have been totally different, man.
After the deaths of Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls, artists and the media temporarily came to their senses.
If you know that it's arousing the whole community, you know that you don't want that
to happen, you don't want that energy coming your way, then it's definitely like up to you to take a stand and be like, yo, I really have no ill feelings towards you as a person. This was me expressing myself through my art. It's love. I want to see you prosper too. I mean, I think a lot of the artists feel that way. They might not say it all the time. Because cats, you know, do get emotional. Sometimes it does become personal. But overall, I know the nature of these cats ain't about like, I want to see this dude dead.
In 1997, Minister Farrakhan called an intervention in Chicago in an attempt to resolve disputes peacefully. Minister Farrakhan told his guests about organized techniques white slave owners had used to keep slaves, including deliberately causing, developing, and maintaining hostility amongst them.
Ice Cube flew in, Mac 10 flew in, Ice Cube came and just gave me a hug.
When I met Common just kind of felt like he had to defend himself, because he a cool dude, actually. And Common good, man. He can rap. He do what he do.
And I needed that, the elders to come bring us together and just be able to sit us at the table where it wouldn't be no ignorance and no homies just sitting around talking crazy. And we'd get aroused and just had a peace treaty. And we hugged, you know, so it was like, I needed that.
We got close, but then she broke to the West Coast, and now it's cool, because around the same time, I went away.
Because they have the respect of many artists, outside entities like the Nation of Islam and Zulu Nation, as well as individuals like Russell Simmons, Jim Brown, and Mike Conception, have led the way in squashing beefs in hip-hop.
In the Nation of Islam, I'm not even allowed to speak negative of another member to another individual in the nation unless the one of whom I'm speaking about is present. If I go to another member about something negative about another member, that member is to stop me and say, hold up. If it ain't positive, I don't want to hear it. And if it's negative, that other person is not here. So what I do then, I go to someone who can officiate my beef, and I want to witness that I tried to settle it. So I don't fear nobody but God. I don't have to go and slander you behind your back. I think that's a coward's way out. Sometimes the other artist didn't even realize you had a problem with him until he heard your record. See, that's a punk way of doing things to me. That's not being a man or a woman. You should have called that artist and faced them with arbitrators saying, you did this to hurt me, and allow that person to say, I'm sorry, I didn't know what I did affected you this way. Would you please accept my apology?
We have a hip-hop summit here. We have people that work all day long on settling beefs. You know, I've been lucky enough to have an opportunity to influence some of these people. And if someone listens to me, then I should use my influence best I can. I pay for a lot of this shit myself. I don't expect to get any help from the people who own the right companies. I wish they'd help me underwrite the hip-hop summit, because they're making billions of dollars. I don't think that people give a shit. Sometimes I don't even think they care if the artist dies as long as the catalog sells.
Every hustler that I know and every person that's had to live a violent life to survive would do anything not to have to live that life. They don't enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? And to get once you get out of that life, you never want to go back. It's so not gangster to get into any physicality. That's the least. That's the worst. That's when there's nothing else you can do. That should be the last resort, is violence. Especially if you're in a position where people are following behind you and you have to set an example, because it makes our culture look bad. It makes us look stupid.